जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुकाचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ भगवान की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल श्रीमद् भागवतम class की जय. So I welcome you all for the Bhagavatam session today. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12 and Text 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So just repeat the shloka after me. It's there on the board. Tad gacha dhruva badram te Bhagavatam adhokshajam Sarva bhutatma bhavena Sarva bhutatma vigraham Tad gacha dhruva bhadram te Bhagavatam adhokshajam Sarva bhutatma bhavena Sarva bhutatma vigraham Tad gacha dhruva bhadram te Bhagavatam adhokshajam Sarva bhutatma bhavena Sarva bhutatma vigraham. Prabhuji's. Mataji's. So please repeat the word meanings and the translation after me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tat, therefore. Gacha, come. Dhruva, dhruva. Bhadram, good fortune. Te, unto you. Bhagavatam, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adhokshajam, who is beyond the concept of material senses. Sarva Bhuta, all living entities. Atma Bhavena, by thinking of them as one. Sarva Bhuta, in all living entities. Atma, the super soul. Vigraham, having form. Please repeat the translation after me. My dear Dhruva, come forward. May the Lord always grace you with good fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sensory perception is the supersoul of all living entities, and thus all entities are one, without distinction. Begin, therefore, to render service unto the transcendental form of the Lord, who is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapat Kamlam Shri Gurana Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sakshtam Sahagan Raganatvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakha Nitavascha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpataru bhaksha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavbhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'll repeat the translation. My dear Dhruva, come forward. May the Lord always grace you with good fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sensory perception, is the supersoul of all living entities, and thus all entities are one, without distinction. Begin therefore to render service unto the transcendental form of the Lord, who is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. So in the purport, Prabhupada is telling us, here the word Vigraham, having specific form, is very significant, for it indicates that the absolute truth is ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is explained in the Brahma Samhita, Sachidananda Vigraha. He has form, but his form is different from any kind of material form. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Supreme Form. As such, they are not different from the Supreme Form, but at the same time they are not equal to the Supreme Form. Dhruva Maharaj is advised herewith to render service unto the Supreme Form. That will include service to other individual forms. For example, a tree has a form, and when water is poured on the root of the tree, the other forms, the leaves, twigs, flowers, and fruits, are automatically watered. The Mayavad conception that because the Absolute Truth is everything, he must be formless is rejected here. Rather, it is confirmed that the Absolute Truth has form, and yet he is all-pervading. Nothing is independent of him. So Srila Prabhupada purport here explains, in the translation it says, we know what the scenario is going on, what is the flashback here, that Dhruva is actually being instructed by Kubera. So Kubera is the demigod, he's the god of wealth. So he is appeared here. Why he has appeared here? Because there is a war between the Yakshas is going on, and Dhruva is killing all the Yakshas because his stepbrother Uttama has been killed by them when he was there in the forest. So thus Swambhu Manu first, he appeared, the grandfather to Dhruva, and he explained him. He gave the beautiful purports we have been through in the chapter 11. They have been beautifully, he has been telling Dhruva not to commit such a, what the heinous thing he's committing, because he's a devotee of the Lord and how he should act. So there is a lot of things for us to understand in the chapter 11 that has gone by, that how should we behave as a devotee and what should be our responsibilities. So Lord Manu actually, he's preaching to Dhruva since then, and now the Maitre Muni, as we know, Maitre Muni is telling this Bhagavatam to Vidura. So he's explaining that how now Kuber appeared. So Kuber is the king of, like, he's the Yaksha leader. So he has appeared now. And he's actually now telling Dhruva that how he should be and how grateful Dhruva is, because he's already a devotee of the Lord. Krishna has been very merciful to him. So here we see that Maitreya Muni, in the first verse itself, the translation says, the great sage Maitreya said, "My dear Vidura, Dhruva Maharaj anger subsided," because he was angry. The killing comes when you are in anger, violence. Why? When we were full of anger, there is violence. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it's a demon. It's devour everything. Anger will consume everything. So be careful of the anger. So never ever a devotee should be very careful that he may not be consumed by anger. Because if he becomes a victim of the anger, he may lose what all piety, all bhakti he has gained. So we have to be very, very careful. So that's why now his anger has subsided. It says here, Vidura, he's telling Vidura that Dhruva Maharaj anger subsided because Manu came, his grandfather appeared, and he said that it's not the way the devotees behave. For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kubera with gentle words. That's what Manu said, the leader of the Yakshas. You must pacify him. Though the Uttama has been killed there by the Yakshas, and yet he is being told, Dhruva is being told to actually pacify with gentle words the leader of the Yakshas. So that is forgiveness. That is being taught here. We just read the Shikshashtakam, Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishana. So what does humility means when you forgive? That's humility. Humility doesn't mean that it's something else, that, oh, I have to get this in me, I have to just fold my hands and stand there and just pretend to be humble. Just bow down and say, oh, I'm humble. That is not humility. Humility is when you are tested, when the times come when you are tested, and you forgive rather than being angry. That is the time when you understand, oh, this guy is very humble, this devotee is very humble. That is humility. And humility is the ornament for the devotees. That is a must. It is a must for a devotee. If you say you are a bhakta, if you say you are a devotee of the Lord, and if you are not humble, then you are not a devotee of the Lord. A devotee of the Lord actually forgives all the time. Sometimes people come and ask, oh, how long we have to tolerate, how long we should stretch it, how long we should go to it. It's always. Guru Maharaj said it's always. Always you have to be humble. It is not 1 moment, 2 moments. It's not that when this thing happened and when it's going to be like, if there is a fight going on and just for 1 hour or 2 hours I show my humility and later on I come into my form. It's not that. It's always, humility means always humble. Forgiveness will bring humility. That is the only way to get to humility. Keep on forgiving, keep on tolerating. That is Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishuna Manina Manadena Kirtaniye Sada Hari. You want to be a devotee of the Lord all the time. You don't want to be a devotee of the Lord for a few minutes or few hours. Bhakti is not a ritual. First we have to understand, it's not a ritual. It's not just in our day, the specific time is for bhakti and the other times is for my sensual enjoyment or my sense gratification. Sense gratification can be very subtle. It is very, very subtle. It can invade into us in a very subtle manner. We may not know it even and we are sense gratifying. It's so dangerous. So that is why Prabhupada mentions in the purport that you are actually a part and parcel of Krishna. So when you are a part and parcel of Krishna, you have to serve him. You cannot escape that. And if you try to escape, then you are a thief. It says here, you are trying to escape from giving service to Krishna, then you are a thief. Because you are not doing what your duty is. So it's clear here that one has to be humble. A devotee has to be humble. He should be forgiving. He should be tolerant, because our goal is to actually chant Krishna's name all the time. That's what Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness. You have to be Krishna conscious all the time. So how would you be Krishna conscious all the time? If you remember this verse always. Because Kirtaniye Sada Hari. Kirtaniye Sada Hari means always chanting. So how do you always chant? First follow these 3 steps. That is, Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Sahishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniye Sada Hari. So you keep on forgiving, become so humble like a blade of grass. So blade of grass has no desire of its own. Somebody steps on its head and it actually doesn't complain. So we have to actually become like that. And if you have any issue, because there will be problems in life, they will come. So go to the right person to report it, that's all. Then your duty is over. Then you don't meditate on that problem. You don't meditate on that person who is committing that offense or fault, whatever you have seen and you want to report it. And what happens if we keep on spreading it around among us, then we are gone. Our bhakti will go away. We will never realize it even when it went away from our hands. So the best is just go to the authority and do your duty, and it's gone. Then you should never worry about it. Let the authorities decide, because you have done your job. Krishna is okay with you when you have done your job. But then don't continue and harp on that subject again and again and again and again. Because that is going to snatch away your bhakti, snatch away your devotion. So one has to be very careful in devotional life. It's very easy. Krishna says it's very simple, it's very easy, it's very blissful. We agree to it. But it can be snatched away any time. He says you're walking on a razor's edge. You're walking in a razor's edge, you're walking on a sword actually. It's so sharp, and moment you actually if you get distracted, you will have the injuries. You're gonna suffer for it. So be very careful. So bhakti is actually walking on razor's edge. So one has to be very, very careful in devotional life. That is why it's so easy, so simple. Prabhupada says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, just shut your eyes and you can run on this path. You don't have to worry. If you are under the shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, you just have to close your eyes. Close your eyes means you just have to follow the instructions and just follow those instructions, do that job, that's all. And then you will actually survive in the path of bhakti. But if by one fraction of a second also you think, oh, I am the doer, I can do it, I know everything now, I don't need the guidance, and you don't follow the spiritual master or your mentor, then you're gone. That is because they know how to guide you. They know their trick. They have that trick with them, how to put you back on the bhakti path. They know it. Srila Prabhupada knew that trick. You see, once Prabhupada was approached by the devotees. They said, oh, there is a devotee, he chants also. He's in the temple also, but outside we have seen him smoking. He smokes. Prabhupada said, okay, call him. And they were so much they were eager that Prabhupada is going to scold him and Prabhupada is going to kick him out. And then Prabhupada said, okay, send him to me. And that fellow, he came, and Prabhupada said, how many cigarettes do you smoke? And he says, I smoke 40 cigarettes a day. But I'm trying, Prabhupada, I'm chanting. Prabhupada said, that's very good, you're chanting. But can you just for my sake leave 1 cigarette a day? He said, oh, of course I can do that. And he did not know what Prabhupada is asking him. That is our foolishness, that's our foolish brain. Prabhupada is asking him to leave 1 cigarette a day. And he said, it's so easy. Next day 39, then 38, 37, 36, 26, 27, 15, and one day came, it was 0. And his cigarette was gone. He was blessed by the pure devotee of the Lord. And now, but that is how Prabhupada, the Guru knows how to rectify you. He's not going to kick you out. He will bring you back on the path of bhakti again and again. He will try. Because we have taken the shelter of him. So that is what, the Guru doesn't leave us. If he has left the planet also, then also he doesn't leave us. He will take back each and every disciple. If they are surrendered, he's going to take them back to Godhead. It's his responsibility. So we have to understand this. It's not that. There are 3 kinds of devotees, there are 3 kinds of disciples. The first kind of a disciple, the third category is where the spiritual master gives them the instructions and they don't follow. They don't listen to them at all. They do their own job. They go with their own mind. Second category is when the Guru has to tell you to do something and you do it. That is the second category of disciples. The first category is when you just understand the mood of the spiritual master. And you just do as he wishes. He doesn't need to speak to you even. He just has a wish, desire, and you know it and you do it before him. You just understand his mood. So that is the mercy of Krishna upon you, that you can understand the mood of your spiritual master. And before he even asks you to do follow instruction, and you have already done it. So that is how a first class devotee is, who is totally surrendered. He is totally surrendered to the mood of his spiritual master. He is so submissive. So that is how Swayambhu Manu is telling Dhruva here, that how it is that we have to serve, and you are really under the guidance of, because Krishna has appeared before you. And Maitri Muni says, now his anger has subsided, because Swayambhu Manu has given him a big sermon. The last chapter is full of all the things we want to know a devotee should have, because it's being again and again repeated before Dhruva. So he says, a person who desires liberation from the material world should not fall under the control of anger, because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others. So anger is so dangerous. That is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita lays down the principles for us. Srimad Bhagavatam actually is the Nam Rupa Guna Leela, that is the name, form, pastimes of Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita doesn't have the pastimes. It talks about the name and the form, but not the Leelas. So here it says, in that Krishna has laid down the principles for us. And he especially has given us many verses that speak of anger, that we should not fall into the trap of anger. Anger will make us the victim. We will be the victim. Once I was attending Indradyumna Maharaj, I was reading, going through his diaries, and there was a beautiful, he writes about anger. He gives his own experience that he was in New York and he was about to board a taxi. He just waved to a taxi and a taxi stopped, and he just boarded that taxi. And then when the taxi wala started, there was another car parked there, and who did not notice the taxi driver, or the taxi driver did not notice him, that he was also starting his engine. Both the cars were about to brush. And now the person in the other car, the driver, he opened up his window and he yelled at the taxi driver. He gave his full anger to him. He yelled and screamed and abused him. But this taxi driver, in which Indradyumna Maharaj was seated, that he did not respond at all. He just drove away. And Indradyumna Maharaj was very surprised. He asked him that, why were you not agitated when that guy was angry? It was not your fault, you were right. So why did you not respond to his anger? Why didn't you respond to his words? He was so angry with you, he was abusing you, and it was not your fault. And the taxi driver looked in the rear view mirror, and he looked into the eyes of Indradyumna Maharaj, and he said, I did not want to take his garbage. He wanted to give his garbage to me. He wanted to give anger to me. You see, anger has a chain. If somebody actually agitates you, when you are agitated, you give your anger to the other person who is now there before you, who is an easy target for you. Then if that person speaks to you, you yell at him. It happens. If a husband is angry, he yells at his wife. The wife yells at the children. The children go to the school, they will be there off mood in the school. So the chain continues. It's infectious. And that taxi driver tells Indradyumna Maharaj, no, I did not want to take that garbage. I did not want to spoil my whole day in front of me. I wanted to give that garbage back to him. May he keep his garbage with him. May he give this anywhere else. So this is something to learn, that yes, if we actually are angry at somebody, we are actually spilling out garbage. That's garbage in us. So we should be very careful. We don't want to be dustbins. We don't want to have garbage in us. So anger that will make you only the victim. And we should actually, Krishna says it's going to consume everything. So here Lord Manu is reminding Dhruva, see, about anger. And then he says, Dhruva, you thought that the Yakshas killed your brother, therefore you have killed great numbers of them. But by this action you have agitated the mind of Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva's brother Kubera, who is the treasurer of the demigods. Please note that your actions have been disrespectful to Kuber and Lord Shiva. So now he is telling him that such a Vaishnava, Lord Shiva, he is being actually, now you are being disrespectful to him when you showed your anger at the Yakshas, when you started killing them. So this is not done with the devotees of the Lord. This behavior is not accepted by the devotees of the Lord. It should not be This quality should not be there in them. They should think before their actions. They are responsible for their actions. Everybody is responsible for their actions. And devotees have to be very, very careful. When they actually are performing any action, they have to be very careful. So that is why every action should be taken care of. So here he is being reminded by Manu that what have you done? Your action has agitated the mind of Lord Shiva's brother Kuber, and you have been disrespectful to both of them. It's not only when we actually become such aggressive behavior that comes up into us, then we are not only disrespecting the other person whom we are being misbehaving with. We are actually representing someone. We are devotees, they are actually representing ISKCON. So they are representing their spiritual master. They are representing devotees, how devotees live. So one should be very careful while while responding to others. And if you're not a devotee, even that, or if you're trying to become a devotee, so you actually should follow these footsteps. If you want to become a devotee, you have to have certain things in your behavior. Of course, they will manifest into you. Because Krishna clearly says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly says, when the Cheto Darpanam margin is going to happen, this transcendental vibration, this transcendental name, what is going to give you? It's going to manifest the qualities, divine qualities in you. It is the source of transcendental knowledge. This Maha Mantra is the source of transcendental knowledge. This knowledge which we are getting from the Bhagavatam, from Bhagavad Gita, imagine just by chanting, you will be able to understand it immediately. And sometimes without reading even, you would know what actually the purports mean. These 8 verses of Chaitanya Charita by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita, clearly that's a vision how a devotee is. So if you just imbibe these 8, you got all the knowledge of the Bhagavatam, all the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. It's so simple. But you have to be a sincere devotee for that. You have to be very sincere to these 8 verses. You have to have faith in them. Unless you have faith in these words of the Lord, they will not actually have any effect on you. Then they will be just a way of poetry you're reciting. So just don't make it a poetry. It is not a poetry for us. Prabhupada many times said, when we do the kirtan in the temple, we do kirtan in the programs, he said, you're not entertainers. Don't think you're entertaining others. You're giving them the most precious, valuable thing, that's the Harinam. So it should come from your heart. You should not go with the mind that, I have to entertain and I have to become a celebrity there. You have to actually just imbibe this quality of sincerity in you. That I am very sincere to my Parampara, Guru Parampara, I'm sincere to my spiritual master. I know when I started online preaching just during the COVID times, and I was getting a very good response. Until date, I have got a lot of people who have joined me, and they have done big, huge book distribution with me, and they are still into it with full faith and vigor. And when I was reporting to my Guru Maharaj, I was telling him I was so excited in the first few days when I was online, and when so many people were joining in the COVID times. I never expected that would happen, because I had no experience. I did preaching, of course, global preaching. I was into it for the last many years. My first maiden trip was to Australia only, Sydney, this temple only. 2007 when I came, my Guru Maharaj told me in the early years of 2003 maybe, he said, I want you to travel all over the world and preach Radhika Kripa. So I was meditating on that, how I can fulfill the words of my spiritual master. And in 2007, I got a chance to come to Sydney. And that was the first trip. And my Guru Maharaj was there was no need for him to be excited. But it was my excitement that I'm actually fulfilling his desire. So I remember when my visa came, and he was inquiring all the time when I reached here. Then also I reported to him like a daughter reports to a father, oh, I've reached safely. And I'm speaking to my Guru Maharaj, telling him, and he's blessing me from the other end. And I would report about my programs. I gave Sunday feast lectures here. I remember I gave many home programs here. So I kept on coming till 2012, 11 or 12. And 6-7 times I came. And then it was to other part of the world I started going. I started going to Canada. I started focusing on London, and then Japan. So I started going there. And then when the lockdown came, and I go to Middle East, I go to Pakistan. So when the lockdown came up, and I thought I can't preach now. So online was like just speaking into the camera. So it was very embarrassing for me. But then I joined it. I said I have to because people were so much in distress, and Prabhupada has really trained us. We have been hearing this word that we are the soldiers in Prabhupada's army. So we have to act like soldiers. It's not just a theory part, it's practical. Bhagavad Gita is practical. It's a practice we have to put into it. It's application. Bhagavad Gita is total application. Never think it's just a theory. We just don't have to, by heart we learn the verses and by heart we learn all the qualities. No. They have to put in, they are there for us to be put into practice. So I was reporting to my Guru Maharaj, so many people joined me today, and I gave a lecture and so many views were there. I just mentioned that I was 65,000 views, Guru Maharaj. That means 65,000 people were watching, they watched it. And Guru Maharaj was, I knew on the other end he was smiling, but the Guru corrects you all the time. He wants you to be humble all the time. He's just a voice that came to me still rings in my ear, and he said, Radhika Kripa, you want to be a celebrity or a devotee? I said, Guru Maharaj, devotee. So that day I understood I don't have to look for the views. Often I tell to Amogalila also, I tell him, he says, never to me Guru Maharaj said that, but I said he told me, he asked me. So that is how it is, that Guru actually keeps a check on you, that you remain humble. Your ego must not actually, it may not blow up, So that is how it is. So important it is that we surrender to the spiritual master. We know the mood of the spiritual master. His mood is just preaching. Srila Prabhupada's mood is only preaching. And preaching while practicing. First practice and then preach. That is what it is. So here it is, Dhruva is being reminded that how he has to, devotee acts like. And here Lord Manu says that you have actually agitated being disrespectful to the Lord Shiva as well. For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kuber. So, he's been disrespectful to, if we are actually, we show our anger in the outside world, everybody is going to say, just because we are representing ISKCON, they would say, oh, devotees are like that. They will label it like this. Oh, the devotees of ISKCON are like this. The people in ISKCON are like this. So we have to be very careful. First, our faith in the philosophy should be very strong. We have to actually build a strong faith, and strong faith comes by more reading, more sincere japa, offenseless japa. Japa has to be offenseless. We read every day in the morning 10 namaprats. That means the 10 offenses, we have to be very careful of these 10 offenses. We should extremely care about these, that we should not commit them in any way. So, offenseless japa will bring a strong faith, and the strong faith is going to actually help us. If there is no strong faith, then in Srila Prabhupada you don't have strong faith, in the Guru Parampara you don't have strong faith, then how will you face the world? You are representing ISKCON, and when there is some problem or something comes up, then you are actually, if your little fault will actually, people will get to know that, oh, ISKCON is like that. And if you are very courteous, you are very respectful, you are very humble, you are very helping, so people will say, oh, ISKCON is like this. So that is the broader picture. So we should always think of the broader picture. That's what my Guru Maharaj always said. Think of ISKCON, just don't think of yourself. We sometimes say, oh, that devotee fought with me, he was disrespectful to me. And then Guru Maharaj says, this is so little thing. You just think of ISKCON, it's so big. What is there your problem in it? Your problem is nothing before the big problems of ISKCON. So sometimes if we had any problem and we would go to Guru Maharaj and then we say, before even telling him, and we would see him, he is constantly talking to the devotees all over the world, oh, this problem is there in that temple and that is there and there. And then we think our problem is nothing before what he is actually going through. So we come back home without telling him anything and the problem is solved. So you see, it's all our faith. So if you have faith, everything will work. The bhakti actually stands on the foundation stone of faith. If you have faith in Srila Prabhupada, you will go through anything, anyone in the world will say you will go and fight with that, because you are representing ISKCON and you will represent it in the best way, if your faith is strong. And if your faith is dwindling, then it's very difficult. And faith becomes strong more and more by chanting nicely, attentive chanting. That is why attentive chanting is very important. Sometimes we don't know what attentive chanting is. Attentive chanting is when you bring your mind back, of course, that is attentive chanting. You don't let your mind wander away. But each and every word of your Maha Mantra, what you are chanting, you have to hear it. You speak from your tongue and you hear it from your ears. It should go into your heart. If you are cleansing your heart, this is the only way to cleanse your heart. Whatever you are saying, and it should be very clear and audible. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So while chanting also, every word has to go through your ears. Like the prasadam is, the bhoga is cooked in the kitchen and we eat the prasadam and we eat it through our mouth and whole body becomes healthy. You don't have to feed your lethargic leg or your lethargic arm separately. You have to just to put in your mouth and you become energetic again. So likewise, the spiritual food, where is it cooked? The food for your soul. This is the food for your body, but the soul is asking for food. The soul is actually, from so many births, soul is wandering for this food, the spiritual food, which we have not given it as yet. So how do you give it the spiritual food? You chant the holy name with very carefully on your tongue, with your tongue. So as you chant the holy name, every word should be very clear. And you eat this holy name. You have cooked it on your tongue. You eat it through your ears. This is how. The prasadam we eat through our mouth, but this we are eating through our ears. That is why hearing is the first, the Navda Bhakti, the process of Bhakti, the hearing is topmost. So because what we are speaking, we have to hear it. So you are speaking the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, eat it through your ears. And how do you digest it? The food was digested in your stomach, but how do you digest this food that went through your ears? In your heart. It should reach your heart. If your heart is not changing, if your heart is still as hard like a rock as it was earlier, no compassion is coming, then your Harinam is not affecting you. You have to be more careful in your Harinam now. It should be done like this is the month of Damodar. So for devotees, every single day is Damodar. Every day is Kartik Mass for them. Devotees never wait only for the Kartik. It's actually for the neophyte devotees, those who are new, those who are joining in. Krishna has put, because for a sale only those persons are attracted. Those who actually think they have to give a hefty price during the 11 months. So they say, oh, it's on discount in this month, so let us go to the temple at least for this month. At least try. So their endeavor is good. But for devotees, those who are surrendered, those who want to be surrendered always, for them every day is Kartik. My Guru Maharaj used to say, he gave the first instruction to me when I joined ISKCON, I started my devotional life. He said, Mangal Aarti has no option. You note it down. There is no option for Mangal Aarti. Or you may say, oh, if I haven't done Mangal Aarti, maybe I'll do 20 rounds in a day or 24. So I will go for Guru Puja and not the Mangal Aarti. And he completely said, there is no option for Mangal Aarti. That means you have to do it every day. So there are some new devotees, they think, oh, in Kartik we will go for Mangal Aarti. It's okay for them. But their endeavor should be that after Kartik also they should continue. But usually it happens in India, and I've seen other temples. During the Kartik, the Mangal Aarti, the whole hall is filled. It's full. And as the Damodar Mass ends, that Purnamashi comes, that Purnima comes, next day you will find back only 10, 12 devotees there. That's all. The whole temple becomes vacant. So that is our intelligence, that how we take it. So devotee is always aggressive in bhakti. He wants to do it. With full heart he wants to do it. So that is how we should attend in the Mangal Aarti. The holy name actually depends on this food, This is the nutrition that we are giving, the nutrients. That the Mangal Aarti, then you attend the classes, you attend the programs. So these are all the vital ingredients of our bhakti. They are the vitamins for our bhakti. So they have the bhakti, the Harinam has to be fed with this. This should happen. A lot of reading should go, and reading and preaching. What you read, give it to others immediately. If you want that to be retained in your brain, give it to others. Unless you don't give it to others, it will not remain with you. You think I know it, but then you are actually, you don't understand it the next time you sit here because you did not give it to others. What you read, talk to others, speak to others, give it to them. So that is the only way, and that is the preaching. That's the only way that you retain. In the school time, remember how you remembered the syllabus, how do you remember those books which you were reading? Your mother would actually, you would read something, you would learn it, and then the mother would say, now she will take the test first. Before the teacher takes it, she takes the test. So you have to repeat it. So keep on repeating it. The repetition actually drives the point home. That's important. That's why we chant also, because repetition is going to drive the point home. We want to go back to Godhead, so the repetition is going to take us back. I think so. So here, today's verse, Prabhupada says here, that Krishna has a form. The main word here is Vigraham. So Vigraham is that he has a form. He's not formless. So he quotes from Samhita, Sachidananda, Ishvara Parama Krishna is quoting that. He's Sachidananda Vigraha. So he has a form, but that form is not material. So Dhruva has been actually, he's been encouraged now that his anger has subsided. So he says, my dear Dhruva, come forward. That's Kuber is saying. May the Lord always grace you with good fortune. So this is Kuber. He's saying that may the Lord has already actually, he's graced him. He gave him darshan. And he gave him the kingdom of the whole world, universe. He's the kingdom, and then he's going to go back also in the same material body. That's Dhruva. Dhruva has been really blessed. And now it says here, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sensory perception, is the Super Soul. So that's repetition is coming here. He's reminding that he's the Paramatma. He's the Super Soul. Krishna is in the form of Paramatma in every jiva. Sarvasya cham hidi sanvishtam mata smriti jnanam apavanam cha. And thus all the entities are one without distinction. All the living entities, they have Paramatma in them. And so that is without distinction, they are the same. So begin therefore to render service unto the transcendental form of the Lord, who is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. So our ultimate is we render service. We render service to Krishna through rendering our service to Guru. There is a shloka in the Granth Sahib, Guru Sevete Thakur Jane. Those who have served the Guru will only know the Thakur. Nobody else cannot, they cannot actually approach the Krishna. Unless you have rendered service to the spiritual master, you cannot approach. Krishna mercy will not flow to you. One has to go through the medium. You cannot just boil the milk on the gas by pouring it on the gas. You have to keep a utensil. And that utensil you pour the milk and then it gets heated up. So likewise, the Guru is the middleman. He is that utensil who is going to help us. So we want to serve Krishna. So that is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. He's the ultimate. He's being reminded here. So here the word Vigram, having specific form, is very significant, Prabhupada says. Because unless we have a specific form in mind, we cannot have a relation with Krishna. Being in a formless way, there is no relation. Like wind is blowing, you can't have any relationship with wind. Sun, you see it, it's giving heat and light, so you can connect with sun at least. Oh, you know the sun, it gives heat and light. But the form of a Krishna is there, then the sambandh, the relationship comes up. And the relationship is very important, because without relationship, the surrender doesn't come. So relationship is so important that you take Krishna as the supreme person, supreme shelter, is the cause of all causes. He says himself, Aham sarvasya prabhamata sarvam pravartate. I am the cause of all the causes. So if you agree to this, only then you will surrender. And if you keep on saying that, oh, I know he's the cause of all causes, but you don't surrender, then you don't agree to his words. You are being disrespectful to him. You are being disrespectful to Krishna. So here we have read that if we are disrespectful, then the mercy does not flow. That's what Lord Manu tells Dhruva. So you have to actually, now he says, ask for forgiveness from, pray in a gentle words, in nice words to Kubera. The Yakshas under the Kuber, they killed his brother, and now again he has been asked that you go and speak in respectful way to Kubera. So this reminds in itself for us that if we really want to serve Krishna, that his form is there. he doesn't have a material form. He has a form that is spiritual. And he has a form, but his form is different from any kind of material form. The living entities are the marginal energy of the supreme form. So we are the marginal potency. So we all know there are three energies of Krishna: external, internal, and the marginal. And we are marginal. So we keep on dwindling. We are sometime here into the Maya, in the material energy, sometimes in the spiritual. So we have to remain focused in life. So here in this chapter, Dhruva is again being reminded of the pure devotion. So pure devotion is when you surrender to the Supreme Lord. So that is the pure devotion. These chapters are very important because they are actually, Dhruva is an ideal for us. He has been made an ideal. Prahlad and Dhruva are the ideals for us. So their faith is strong. His faith in his mother's words actually brought him to the forest. And yelling for Krishna because his mother told him that you'll find Krishna in the forest. He reaches the forest and he's screaming on his top of his voice for Krishna. He's yelling for Krishna. And then who appears before him? His spiritual master appears before him. That's Naradji. And then he does as what Naradji tells him. He does the same. And when he does the tapasya, he makes a form of the with the mud, he makes a vigraha and then he starts his tapasya. So that is Dhruva. So he's being again reminded of all those things because he has fallen prey to the anger. So now he's being taught back again everything to come back on the track. So here it says, Prabhupada mentions that he's being reminded, and as the living entities are the marginal energy of the Supreme Form, as they are not different from the Supreme Form, but at the same time they are not equal to the Supreme Form. So we are not equal to the Supreme Form, and we are not different also from the Supreme Form. Who are Atma, our soul? So the living entities, their soul is actually a part and parcel of Krishna. So that is, we are meant to serve him. In quantity wise, we are different from him. In quality wise, we are the one. Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. So it says here, that will, and they are not equal to Supreme Form. Dhruva Maharaj is advised herewith to render service unto the Supreme Form. That will include service to other individual forms. So that means the biggest humanity, the work of humanity is done by the devotees. Some people say, oh, this NGO, that NGO, we do this, we go give free food. We too give free food, but we give prasadam. So we help others. I was in Tokyo and they took me to the place where the tsunami had come, and they said the ISKCON had taken up that they would supply food to the people there. So they were supplying prasadam, they were helping people in the time. They were taking clothes, they were taking things, they were giving them free aid. So that is the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, chanting the holy name, giving prasadam, these are all transcendental services. So do the transcendental services. Join in the transcendental services. You can tell others, we do the transcendental services. We are the biggest NGO. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this is the biggest welfare activity. It is so soothing like the moon that when you give holy name to others, it actually helps them. It helps them from the agony of pain. It helps them from the fire of desires. There is all adjectives added to these things. The agony of pain. Pain actually is very, the suffering. So this has got the soothing effect. The Harinam has got that soothing effect. If you are in pain, you are in distress, this Harinam is going to help you. It's going to subside. All the pain in you, the fire of desires, everything will, Sansar Davanal, the whole world is burning. But this Harinam will bring the pain down. It will actually extinguish. It's the extinguisher, fire extinguisher it is, the Harinam. So it says that will include service to other individual forms as well. So we also serve others. For example, a tree has a form, and when water is poured on the root of the tree, the other parts of it get all the nourishment. Just the water is put in the roots and the tree becomes, the leaves, the twigs, the flowers, the fruits are automatically watered. So he refutes the Mayavad conception, because the absolute truth is everything, he must be formless. Because Mayavad says there was just like one paper is there, you cut the paper into pieces, now the paper is no more. There are only pieces left. So they say, oh, Krishna, actually, whoever the Supreme Lord, he made all the creation was created by him. Now he is finished because he made the creation, he dissolved in the creation. So it is formless. No, that is not our theory. He is distinct. He created, but he remains aloof to it. He has his own Dvibhuj form, two-armed form he has. He lives in the Goloka. He's there in his form. So he must be formless is rejected here. Rather, it is confirmed that the Absolute Truth has form, and yet he is all-pervading. He has a form, and yet he is the Paramatma. He is Sarvavyapak. He showed that to Prahlad. If anybody says that, nobody can refute the story of Prahlad. It's not mythology. Prahlad was, when asked by Hiranyakashipu, is your Vishnu, where is he? Does he live in this pillar? And what does Prahlad says? With full faith he says, yes. We all know Krishna doesn't live in the pillar. It's not his home. But yet he is everywhere. Once I was in Pakistan, the question came up. They said, oh, you say he's everywhere. And then there is a shloka in the 9th chapter where the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is said that I am in it also and I am not a part of it also. Something like that it's there. So they asked me, and then I said, I'm sitting on a chair and this chair has got Krishna in it, but it is not Krishna. Because Krishna is in every particle of this world, every atom, every place, he is there. The Krishna is in that pillar, Prahlad says, but that pillar is not the home for Krishna. This table, this chair has Krishna, but this is not Krishna. You cannot worship this, but he is there. He is everywhere. So, the fact is that he is all pervading, and he appeared for his devotee from the pillar. He is there in our faith. That was Prahlad's faith, and that faith moved it, and Narsingadev had to appear from that pillar to keep the words of his devotee. So he keeps the words of his devotee, he protects them. That's Krishna. But it depends how surrendered you are. Prahlad was fully surrendered. He went through so many tests. And yet he was chanting all the time the holy name. He never left it. He was always preaching in the Gurukula. He was put in the Gurukul to learn the politics. That's what they wanted, Hiranyakashipu wanted him to learn by Sandha Maraka. But then they failed. They said, oh, he is always teaching the others also to sing the glories of Vishnu. They're all chanting the holy name there. So that is how his faith was. He entered the fire with his aunt. He knew that his aunt had been blessed, that she would not be burned. And he knew his father was trying to burn him. And the 7-year-old child enters into the fire. And what does Krishna do? The aunt gets burned, though she is been fully blessed with a boon. But she gets burned and he is protected. That's Krishna. So devotees are always protected. And he is all pervading, and yet nothing is independent of him. Everything is working under his control. So we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has given us such a beautiful purport for us to easily understand these difficult verses of Bhagavatam. So we are extremely fortunate. So any question anybody has? It's 9 a.m. Yes, Prabhu. Anger. Yes, it's very difficult. It just comes in a fraction of a second. And then it finishes off and it takes away those things which cannot be repaired sometimes. Irreparable loss it gives. But how you can, you have to leave the place immediately. When anger is rising up, just remind yourself. Because we put a tilak on us, this is a reminder for us. Oh, you are a devotee. Kantimala, oh, you are a devotee. And if you are angry, what will others say? What will others think? So this actually will protect us. This reminds us. But then human beings are very crazy, they have excuses with them. Once I was talking to a devotee and he was telling his experience. He said, I went to meet someone And he said something and I got really angry on him. And I banged my fist on the table, like this. And I was speaking in a full of anger, no? Tone was changed, everything changed. Eyes were red, and he banged his fist on the table. And the other person he said, what's wrong with you? You're a devotee of the Lord. You preach all the time. You tell everybody that we should not be angry, and then you are exhibiting the same thing here. He said, you see, I'm a devotee. That's why my fist is on the table. It's not on your head. So I told you, devotees are very clever also. Prabhupada says they're very smart. They are dakshas. But then we should not be like that. We should not exhibit anger. We should just smile and leave the place. So it is that we should remember all the time. Like I just told you, Indradaman Maharaj experience. So that is how this was, that we don't give the garbage. We are not dustbins. We don't take the garbage. We actually give a smile. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. But that will come with practice. Forgiveness will come if we remember. That's why this verse has to be remembered all the time. We may not forget it. Guru Maharaj always said, put it around it should be in your neck beads. You should always wear this shloka. It should remind you all the time. It should echo in your mind all the time. So whenever something is going to happen, it's coming in your mind, something wild, so it will protect you. So these beads the mala, the chanting beads will protect us if you carry it all the time with you. These are the weapons, Vaishnava weapons. If you take with them, so they will, the weapons, this doesn't mean they're going to kill others. They are protecting us. They act to protect us. So these are all weapons, the Vaishnava tilak, the neck beads, the chanting beads. So if we have faith in them, you cannot be angry if you are chanting, you have a bead bag in your hand and you are actually fighting with someone. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't look nice. So immediately withdraw your senses. That is why the tortoise example is given. Withdraw yourself from the situation itself. Just start. We give so many exercises are there. Some people say take a deep breath and go away, and then just repeat 1, 2, 3, 4 the numbers. So we say just repeat Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Take it in your mind and ask for forgiveness from Krishna, that please help me. And it affects. You see, when I joined, there was someone who was I wouldn't tell the whole incident, but there was someone whom I didn't like. Like, I thought his behavior was not of a devotee. And that is the beginning, when early days, the earliest, like I had just joined 1 week or 10 days. And Guru Maharaj often says, when you join and then you come to the temple, you think everybody is from Vaikuntha. Don't expect. He said, don't expect that. Everybody is not from Vaikuntha. And then you get agitated when you see, oh, this devotee, he looked to be very nice, very polite, very humble. So now when you meet that person again and again, then you come to know some faults in him. Of course, you will see some faults. And then these faults, when you see, you think, you start misjudging people. So that's why we should not be doing that. It's a hospital. So everybody who comes here is got some problem. And his problem may be bigger than yours or smaller to yours. It depends, and it will show. So we should be very careful. We should chant the holy name. We should leave the place. We should remind ourselves all the time that I don't have to be angry. And I'm telling you that experience with that person. I didn't like him. But then I was praying. I was coming for Mangalarti every day, as Guru Maharaj had told me. And I would pray to the deities. I said, please let this be washed away from my heart. I don't want that. I know, actually I'd seen him misbehaving with someone, speaking loudly, being angry only. And I reported to my Guru Maharaj. I just sent a mail, because he was my mentor as well, my spiritual master. So he was my Shiksha Guru. I was taking all advice from him. So when I saw this, I was writing mails to him. And he was in US preaching at that time and writing a mail that, but I was helpless. It was something very difficult for me to digest. And then a reply came, and Guru Maharaj said, I beg forgiveness from you on his part. I said, my God, Guru Maharaj doesn't know what happened, and he's asking for forgiveness. He says, I'm extremely sorry on his part. That day, actually, I realized I will not be telling him anything like this. And then I was praying to the deities, and today that person is a friend of ours, He's a nice friend of ours. So there are some misconceptions that take up our mind, and at that time, he was in some situation that he was angry. So we should not judge the people like this. That's why we should not judge others. Just judge yourself. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. No, we should be. You just reminded because, as I said, I've been mentored by my spiritual master. These are the words I told him when he said I was not initiated even, and just joined ISKCON like 6 months or so, less than that also. And I was just telling him that in this area where I stay, there are very few devotees. He says, he said, then why don't you preach? I said, I looked at him. I said, I'm not perfect, Maharaj. You'll become perfect. Start preaching. And I was not initiated, and I was made to sit on the Vyasasana. And I started preaching, I started working on it really. I picked up Prabhupada's small books, Art of Mind Control, all, made points from that. And there was not the time of PPT that time. I'm talking about like 2001 or 2. So I would make hand pamphlets, with handwritten, and would stick them on the bulletin board. Art of Mind Control, join me, and then put all the quotes there, and would start it like this. And then Guru Maharaj said, you will become perfect. You just start preaching. And then here I am, like in 2005, 4, he said, I want you to travel all over the world. You have my full blessings to go anywhere on this world to preach, or anywhere on this planet to preach. So you see, we never should think, oh, I don't have the qualification. If you are sincere, you are chanting your rounds nicely, you are reading the books, you can, and try to come out of your comfort zone. Give a challenge. Yesterday I was giving a class, I was telling everyone, give a challenge to yourself. Every day give a new challenge to yourself. When I started book distribution, when I was telling Guru Maharaj, oh, so many views came up and all, the next was he tested me immediately. I spoke this thing in the month of May maybe, May 2020. And when August 2020 came, Bhadra Purnima Marathon came for the first time for the Bhagavatam Marathon. And Guru Maharaj calls me up and he says, Radhika Kripa, because he knew I was telling him I have a big group, I have this, I've done this. And then he said, let's test her. He said, Radhika Kripa, I want you to join in the Bhagavatam Marathon. I said, yes, Guru Maharaj. And your target is 1,000 Bhagavatam sets. Such a heavy voice he said there. I said, yes, Guru Maharaj, I will try surely. When you are there, so I know something will, of course, happen, Guru Maharaj. And he said, I will immediately ask the temple president, Mohan Rupa Prabhu. He will just call you up. He will give you the link and just start with the marathon right now. And with his blessings that year, we did 425 Bhagavatam sets. And when everybody was glorifying me before him, and Maharaj very coolly goes to the mic and he says, her target is 1,000 Bhagavatam sets. Very coolly he said. He was reminding me, like Dhruva is being again reminded. And then next year we did, 626 Bhagavatam sets. And we were doing the Bhagavad Gitas as well. So we did first year 6,000 Bhagavad Gitas. Next year it was 626 Bhagavatam sets and 14,000 Bhagavad Gitas. And then again Guru Maharaj did not leave his lines, He always said the target is 1,000 yet. You haven't done it. Well, nothing, you haven't done anything. But he was so sweet. Like when there was in Vrindavan and there was the prize distribution for the world over temples. And of course, I'm a part of the East of Kailash temple, Shri Radha Parthasarathi. So my score was with them, of course, not an individual name. But Guru Maharaj especially took the mic and he said, it was on the Zoom, this 2020, the prize distribution was on the Zoom. And Guru Maharaj, I was so he's so humble, I haven't done anything, just 425 Bhagavatam sets. He takes the mic and he says, he's asking the MC, there was, I don't know which Prabhu was there, and he said, can I just speak few words? And he said, of course Maharaj, you can speak. Then Maharaj said, I want to thank Radhika Kripa for doing the Bhagavatam Marathon. To me, he was always saying, the target is still not accomplished. And then we did, the next year we did 565, and then we did 525. Last year we did 565 with 20,500 Bhagavad Gitas. This year we did 800 Bhagavatam sets. But Guru Maharaj, we have offered it to him only, and he's there with us, I know, he's always with us. So I offered to him. And the next year, I have actually our group, my Peaceful Devotional Family, that is the group online which I have now, we all have taken this vow that next year we are going beyond 1008 Bhagavatam sets. So we're going to fulfill the desire of our spiritual master. He wanted, and I want to do it. He was so like enthused, you said, like we say, we are not perfect. I was once traveling back from here, and my flight was in Hong Kong. I landed in Hong Kong. So I was just talking to Guru Maharaj that I'm back from Sydney and I'm in Hong Kong for 2 days. Now, he says, take a bus and go to China. I said, Maharaj, I don't have the visa for China. I've got an Indian passport. Very cool, he said. Take a bus and go to China. He would say that. He was talking to Pakistan devotees once when I was coming to Sydney in 2007. He was talking to devotees in Pakistan on the phone. And they were inviting him to come to do deity installation. And they were Radha Krishna deities, which my Prabhuji and I had helped them to procure. And we had sent them to Lahore, Quetta. And they were asking Guru Maharaj, because Maharaj had gone in 2006 in April, he had gone to Pakistan. So they had said, when the deities come, Maharaj, you please come back again. So they were asking him to please come. And I had gone to take blessings that I'm leaving for Australia. And Guru Maharaj sees me and he says, and he asked first my husband, are you okay if I send Radhika Kripa to Pakistan? And my husband said, anywhere in the world you can send her. So and then Guru Maharaj says, on the phone, he tells them, I will not come, Radhika Kripa will come. I said, how will I go? It's not a tourist visa you get for Pakistan. And then I came to Australia, then I went back from here, it was month of May. And June, their installation was there. So I went back and they are asking, my Prabhu said they have sent an invitation letter, they've sent some documents, they are waiting for you. You have to try for the visa. I said, I'm not going to try for the visa because there is a big queue for the Pakistan, because you have a relationship, you prove a relationship with somebody there, and then you have to stand in a queue for like 1 kilometer long queue. And then also the visa comes in 2-3 months if they check all your credentials and all that. I said, I'm not going to stand in all that big queue for the visa, And then I remember there was a person in the temple who had some contacts. So because they had invited they had met in a dinner party where some big personality was there, as well as the Pakistan High Commissioner was there. So that High Commissioner was, he was present and he was invited to ISKCON temple. So the Prabhu said, please come to ISKCON temple, Radha Parthasarathi. So he promised that, yes, I will come sometime. And he had spoken to this Prabhu in the temples. I won't take the names because we are live. So that I knew this incident. So I went to that Prabhu. I said, the Pakistan High Commissioner. Can you just call up his PA and ask? He said, get the number for the PA. There was no Google at that time, so we had to search through the directories, and we got the number. So he spoke to the commissioner. And then he said, I say, my god sister, she has a function to attend there and she wants to go. There are her relatives there. And then he said, when? He said, tomorrow. And the PA says, tomorrow? We have to check everything, before giving a visa to an Indian. We have to check everything. And it takes 1 month at least for all our, investigations to go. And this devotee says, she's not a terrorist. And the person says, okay, send her. And I went immediately, I had my passport with me in my bag. He said, send her to the embassy. I immediately went to the embassy. My husband refused to go inside even. He said, I'll sit outside, you go. I went inside, and then within an hour, they gave me the visa. And I took the flight in the evening to Lahore. So it is like that. The life has been so thrilling. So preaching is very thrilling and very adventurous.